Empanada. We'll go ahead and start with our crust. In the bowl, I've got masa harina, some achote powder, some Goya, and some seasoning salt. Just mix that all together. And if the crust is not as red as you would like it, you can add another packet of achote powder. But once you add the water, it'll darken up. It's typically a 1-to-1 ratio of masa harina to water. It's very good. You're going to go ahead and knead this until it comes together to a nice soft dough. You don't want it wet. Okay. I add 3/4 of the liquid first and then slowly the remaining water. You know how when you measure flour it's not always exact, so let's kind of keep that in mind when you're mixing your dough here. And you should already have your filling in the refrigerator. Okay, the dough looks good. Alright, now you want to make these into little balls, so depending on how big your empanada is going to be, okay, about that size is good. And these are going to be small ones. If you want it bigger, make bigger balls. Okay, go ahead and roll all of your dough out, and then we'll get ready to fill our empanada. Alright, here's my empanada filling. It's simply the chilaquiles soup that was made earlier, refrigerated overnight. Okay? Oh, nice and thick. Here's my empanada press. I bought it sometime when I was in college. I went home to Guam for vacation, maybe 94-ish, and I bought it at Lujan's department store, for those of you who remember that little store down there. Okay, if you look real close, you can see it says Lujan's department store, little store, big bargains. And for those of you who don't have an empanada press, I'll show you a way to flatten your empanada dough. Here's my setup. I've got my empanada press, the balls of empanada dough, some wax paper that I cut to the size of the press, my filling, and then a pan to place the empanada in. And once you've filled the pan up, it goes in the freezer so it can harden, and then you can store it in a Ziploc bag. Alright, so I've got a sheet of wax paper with one ball in the center. You cover that with a second sheet of paper, press it a little bit, fold the press over, push on the handle, nice and thin. Open it up, and there you've got a round sheet of dough. Peel the top one off. You can save this and reuse it. Put some filling in. Some people like a lot of dough, some like a lot of filling. Okay, and then you pick up your sheet of wax paper, bring the edges together, and then fold or crease starting from the outside in. That way you can keep the filling inside of the dough. Okay, so outside in, bring the edges together. Okay, let's crease it together and set this in the pan. Another sheet of paper, piece of dough, that second sheet I used earlier, fold, press, push down, open. There's bacon and chicken, garlic, onions. Here. Crease the edges. Now I'm not big on perfection, so my wax paper doesn't line up in a nice little rectangle. It's fine with me. All right. So what do you do when you don't have an empanada press? And here's what I do, aside from just putting a ball between two sheets of wax paper and rolling it out with the rolling pin. Start with a flat plate. Here's a sheet of wax paper I used earlier. Grab a ball, another piece of paper on top, and then you get the same kind of plate. And notice there's no, let's see if you can see better here, there's no edge, raised edge on the plate. Okay, so turn it over and just press so that you're sandwiching this wax paper empanada dough together. Don't break the plate, okay? So you need to be careful on how much pressure you put, but just enough, even pressure, to flatten it into a round of dough. It's going to be a little thick, okay? It's pretty thick, but then you get your rolling pin and you roll it out one direction, second, third, and fourth. So it's pretty flat. And it'll about hold the round shape. Open it up. Grab some of your filling. And bring the edges together. So, the plates serve the same purpose. You really can't tell the difference between what we did on the empanada press and what we did on the plate. Okay. So no excuse if you do not have a press. Again, you fill your pan up, put these in the freezer to harden, and you fry the empanada frozen. Okay, so we're ready to fry. The oil is hot. Frozen empanada. Remember, you don't want to move your empanada, otherwise you're going to mess up the crust and it's going to spill out all over the place. So in a few minutes it'll rise onto its sides and then you can move it around. It's been about 6 minutes since I put the empanada in the oil. I haven't touched it yet, and you can see two of them have come up on their sides. Okay, and the reason why you don't want to move them as soon as you put the empanada in is you'll end up tearing the crust, the filling will spill out, and you'll just have a big mess in the pot. Okay, so just nudge them apart. Okay. And you want to let this continue to cook about 10-15 minutes so that the crust is crispy and the inside cooks. Okay, you can see the empanada, they're floating on their sides. I usually let it cook a couple of minutes after they've come up on their sides. And you can remove them from the oil. Some people like their empanada the next day. Soft and soggy. Not me though. I do like them a little on the warmer versus the hot side. That way you can eat it all up without burning your mouth.